Join me now is Maya King, a politics reporter for the New York Times who focuses on the South. Maya, that quote came from a report that you were reporting on. So let's start there. Why don't Georgia Republicans want Donald Trump to campaign for Herschel Walker?
It's Donald Trump endorsed a number of candidates in Georgia during the primaries, and a lot of them actually didn't make it out of their primaries. His track record in the state is a pretty mixed bag. And then on top of that, two of the people that he endorsed candidates to challenge, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger and Governor Brian Kemp, two folks who were really part of his on his enemies list, are now two of the more popular Republicans in the state. So by and large, Republicans have calculated in Georgia that given the state's changing demographics, that more heavily favor Democrats, the larger number now of swing voters, and the fact that the more popular Republicans in the state are people who really have not gotten along with the president or gotten on his wrong side. All of this points to the fact that they believe they should keep the high-profile Republicans sort of in the state. Brian Kemp will be campaigning with Herschel Walker in Metro Atlanta later on this morning. That's exactly who the campaign would like to see on the trail with him.
No, it's interesting that you mentioned Governor Kemp because he actually didn't need the former president's endorsement and did quite well. There's always this a running joke among people behind closed doors saying that if Donald Trump didn't want Ron DeSantis, he should have just endorsed him. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what you think the race looks like in regards to runoff. So what is the turnout going to be? And one of the things that we find really fascinating with the work that we do around these different demographics is that in the last runoff, 30% of Latinos who voted for Warnock, 30%, they were under the age of 29. Is that where you're talking about demographic shifts? Is that just these multicultural young voters coming out enthusiastically in the midterm?
Well, it's younger voters, folks who have moved from different areas, larger cities to the South, more people of color. And the electorate has expanded just given national trends. We saw a larger concentration, as you point out, of younger voters in the electorate during the general election. And we saw a larger concentration of women as a result of the Dobbs decision in the electorate as well. This helped Democrats tremendously. And it's part of what got Raphael Warnock into the runoff in what really was a pretty tough environment for Democrats statewide during this election. I think to answer your question on turnout, we really won't know until the early voting period starts, and then, of course, on Election Day. And the big challenge that both Democrats and Republicans are facing in this runoff period is the fact that it's cut in half. Under Georgia's new election law, the runoff period was once 9 weeks, where we would be looking at a runoff that went through Thanksgiving, through Christmas, and the New Year. Now, the election will be decided for the United States Senate in Georgia shortly after Thanksgiving. It's just a 4-week period now. So that gives campaigns not a lot of time to mobilize voters and hire new staffers. And then, of course, for organizations that are in charge of mobilizing these sort of harder to reach populations that really make the difference in a runoff election that is so close, the time is it's really running out. There's only about 2.5 weeks left in this runoff period. There's a lot of work to do and also a lot of money still to be pumped into Georgia in this remaining window.
No, Maya, and I'm glad that you talk about the truncation of time. Before you mentioned that there was close to 6 to 7 weeks. And during this whole renovation of modernizing elections after that, they actually cut that time to less than 4 weeks. And as a result, they didn't allow for that window of registering new voters. In the last election, there was 50,000 young people that were eligible to register because they had come of age in that short 6-week period. But because now they have new Georgia law, it says that you have to register before 30 days out. They purposely did it because they recognized that they didn't want young voter participation. So Maya King, thank you for your incredible reporting and giving that insight.